Oh, good evening, everybody. I'm very excited about this video. I guess it's probably one of the things that I'm most passionate about, possibly the most passionate about. So if you watch this, I'm very grateful to you for watching it, and I hope you like it, and I hope that it does some good for you, or for somebody that you know. I want to entitle this video Affirming Your Existence. And you know, as a lot of you know, I'm a fundamentalist Christian that fundamentalist Christians don't really like. You know, my philosophy is kind of like, if the atheists hate you and the Christians hate you, then you're probably on the right track, right? That's kind of the way I look at it. You know, like Jesus said, don't sin to the left or to the right. Well, you know, so there's people on the left and on the right, you know, and they're fighting with each other. The people in the middle are the ones that get hit first. But the people in the middle are the ones that are, you know, they haven't veered off the left or the right, you know. So I don't know. That is, I don't entirely agree with that in all seriousness, but I think that there might be some truth to that. But I am a fundamentalist Christian, and the reason that, and that gives atheists reason to not like me, atheists and agnostics and scientists. Those are people who subscribe to the religion of scientism. You know, of course, they don't agree that they have a religion. They don't agree that scientism is a religion. They refuse to acknowledge it, but it doesn't change the fact, right? Another topic for another video is the nature of deception. It gets deep. That subject gets deep, and it gets mind-bending pretty quick. The nature of deception. I mean, it gets. It doesn't really get complicated, but it gets difficult to accept. It's like one of those things that makes you go, no, that can't be. But that's the nature of deception. So, which is basically the realm of Satan. Again, you don't have to believe in Satan as an entity. You know, if you're an intellectual and you have difficulty with that because of the culture of intellectuals of every age and culture had their own culture, their own subculture within the bigger culture that they were a part of, you know. So in our culture, in our master culture, you know, the subculture of intellectuals, you know, they have difficulty with that concept of Satan. So I think it's true what I'm about to say, but you know, I don't necessarily subscribe to it, but at least I think it could be true that you don't have to look at Satan as an entity. You know, you can look at him as like a personification of a network of values, a system of values, you know, a personification, metaphor, allegory, you know, an anthropomorphization. All right, if you want to, you know, difficulty, you know, but so all the people on what we'll call the left don't like me because I'm a fundamentalist Christian. All the people on what we could call the right, the Christians don't like me too much, because even though I do believe that the word that the Bible is the inerrant, infallible Word of God, I don't believe that that fact is any guarantee that any living person or any living class of people or sect of people or denomination of people, etc., etc. That doesn't mean, that's no guarantee that anybody has the correct interpretation of the information that's available. Because something that's hard for a lot of people to accept is information without interpretation is worthless information. The magic to information is in the interpretation. I mean, you can have 5 people look at the same information and come to 3 different conclusions, 2 different conclusions, sometimes even 5 different conclusions, because the magic to information is in the interpretation. Now, check this out. If you can come to terms with that, and I don't necessarily expect you to be able to, because it's difficult. We get it drilled into our heads that facts, data, that all you need are facts and data. It's like, no, that's not true. You know, try giving 1,000,000 facts to a turtle, you know, or to a monkey, or to a dolphin, or, you know, I mean, no, you need interpretation. The facts without a conscious being, a conscious, intelligent being, you know, I mean, a dolphin is conscious, a dolphin is intelligent, you know, I mean, some animals are astoundingly intelligent, and that goes for animals that are not known for being intelligent. I mean, there are smart cows, for example. I mean, there are some very intelligent animals out there, you know. So you need more than data. You need more than information, and I dare say you need more than data, information, and a conscious, intelligent. What's the word? Conscious, intelligent, sentient. Right? You need something more than that. Maybe that's where the pineal gland comes in. Maybe that's where the real processing of information takes place. The interpretations, right? I mean, computers can process information extremely fast, but try to give a computer some information when that computer has not been told by a human in advance how to process the information. See? And I know we're getting into artificial intelligence and learning machines and yada, yada, yada. I know all that. But all of that is created. All of that is programmed by humans. So we program machines to program machines. And now, or program machines to program themselves. Now all of a sudden we think we've created a sentient being. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. I'm tending to think that no, we've just created a very fancy machine. You know, that's my tendency. And if that machine appears to rival man, it's only because while they have been working feverishly to accelerate the advancement of machines, they have been working with equal fervor to decrement the abilities of man. Dumbing down education, chemicals in the water, chemicals in the food, chemicals in the medicine, chemicals in the air, chemicals, you know, I mean, whatever, chemical attacks. There's word now of nanotech, you know, technological machines that are small enough to go into our bloodstream. Supposedly companies like Starbucks and other companies are working with these weirdos, 4th and 5th generation billionaires and trillionaires. You know, just think about what a 4th generation billionaire has the potential to be like as a human being. See if you can wrap your head around that. Obviously, in all likelihood, nobody watching this is going to be somebody who is a billionaire. So it's kind of difficult. But just try. And then keep trying. And then keep trying. If you try, you'll pick up some clues as you go along, and that will help you in your effort. And after a while, you come to the conclusion that, whoa, wait a minute. A 4th or 5th or 6th or 8th or 10th generation billionaire, that's a scary proposition. I mean, think about the poor people, you know, relatively speaking, relative to a billionaire. And by the way, if you got $10 million in the bank, you are a poor person relative to a billionaire. A billionaire looks at you like, you know, you're a gnat. Like you're a gnat riding on the back of a rat. I mean, you're nothing, right? Not a gnat on the back of a rat, a mite on the back of a mat. A flea. A mite on the back of a flea that's on the back of a rat. Right? That's how a billionaire looks at you if you have $10 million in the bank. So it's hard to wrap your head around. Okay? Now, but what? And then after you do that, try to wrap your head around a 4th or 5th or 8th or 10th generation billionaire. And think about the poor people that you know, the people with less than $10 million in the bank. Think about some of the worst, nastiest, most frustrating control freaks you know. And then consider that it's possible that there is somewhere in the world a 4th or 5th or 8th or 10th generation billionaire who also has that personality type. Right? I mean, that gets pretty scary pretty fast. So, and I've digressed again. I've lost my place. So, let me back up and try to figure out where I am. So I was talking about affirming your existence is the way I started. And then I was talking about billionaires somehow. And then I can't remember. I'm tired. It's hard for me to remember things when I'm tired. I was talking about the Annenberg Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. I know I was mentioning those. I don't know what my point was when I was mentioning those. That's how tired I am. And I told you I was all excited about making this video. And I am. But I've digressed and I've sabotaged myself with my lack of discipline. So I was talking about all those foundations. Talking about dumbing down humans, raising up machines, creating sentient being. What is a sentient being? What is data and information without a sentient, without an intelligent sentient? And even with an intelligent sentient, it's still worthless unless the intelligent sentient has some unknown quality that allows it to interpret the information and the data in a meaningful way. I was talking about how people can have the same data set and have 5 different people look at it and they come to different 2 or 3 or even possibly 5 different conclusions, interpretations, information. But the whole gist of everything is supposed to be about affirming your existence. So I apologize, but I lose myself all the time, but usually I can backtrack and find where I was going. This time, I don't think I can do that. So I'm just going to kind of, in a way, start over. But, so yeah, affirming your existence, basically, what I want to say is that, you know, I really think we have to find, I know, I was talking about education and how they teach us that it's all about information. As opposed to interpretation. Anyway. Well, I guess that does fit, actually. Affirming your existence is expressing your own unique point of view. Right? Expressing. When you express yourself, you find yourself. See, this is the significance, the hidden significance of having a creator. You know, and I think we have to learn to look at the world in exact opposite terms compared to how we're taught to look at the world. I think that's critical. I think it's critical beyond expression. I don't think that idea can be overstated. How important that is. They tell us in the world that the idea of having a creator is this quaint, simpleton, antiquated, unsophisticated perspective. But in reality, no, it is the most sophisticated perspective. Because if we don't have a creator, then we're just gelatinous amoebas with some bones inside of us that make us a little bit different than amoebas. I mean, crawling around in the dirt and the dust and the liquid goo of this earth. The liquid goo being, the atmosphere, wherever there's humidity. If we don't have a creator, then we are whoever has authority over us tells us we are. If we don't have a creator. I mean, that's depraved. That's degenerated. And look at what they're telling us that we are. See, in the Bible, God told us that He created us male and female. But what are they telling us? They're telling us we can be whatever we want if we just let them mutilate us, inject us with God knows what. I mean, they're telling us what it is, but God only knows what it really is. Oh, I was also talking about nanotech. Nanotech. They use nanotech to dumb it, theoretically, supposedly. They want to use, and this was demonstrated in the show The Kingsman, but they didn't really get to the nanotech part. They just got to the cell phone part. They send out some signals through the cell phones, makes everybody go crazy. The point is that the big companies, Starbucks is just one of them, probably McDonald's, the big ones, the other it's the billionaires. The billionaires have, like the intellectuals have a subculture, the billionaires have a subculture too. And there's good billionaires and there's bad billionaires. I mean, the billionaires are just people. You're going to have a wide diversity, but despite the diversity, there are going to be strains of thought and ideology among that group that don't exist anywhere else, because that group is a distinct group as compared to other people. Okay? That's my theory anyway. That's the way I look at it. You got the laws of the aggregate and the laws of the individual. You got the dualistic nature of the world going on there. You got the dualistic nature of the world in total, in sum, and you got the dualistic nature of the world as it applies to groups, and you got the dualistic nature of individuals. I mean, we all have dualistic natures. We have ideas about what we think we do. We have ideas about what we think is good, and then we have the reality of what we actually do. I mean, that's a dualism, and they're not related. If you're a whole person and healthy, then probably they're more closely related than someone else. But they don't have to be related. You can have theories and ideas all day long. That doesn't mean your behavior is going to be in line with your theories and your ideas, and even your beliefs. I mean, that's the challenge of religion, is bringing our behavior in line with our beliefs. I mean, that's like the fact that we have ideals is an acknowledgement of the fact that we are kind of fragmented. We have the potential to be fragmented people, fragmented or divided within ourselves. At war with ourselves. And anybody who has an ounce of honesty, I think, an ounce of personal self-integrity, understands that phrase, at war with ourselves. Because if you've never been at war with yourself, then you've never tried to improve yourself. You've never tried to step out of your comfort zone. You've never tried to do something that in your mind you thought was good, and in your heart you thought was good, but that your body was fighting against. So the nanotech, they supposedly they send these micro machines into our bodies, and then the micro machines are activated by the cell phones. The electromagnetic radiation that the cell phones give off. So, and there's more. It just goes on and on and on. The cell phone towers have like 3,000 times the capacity that they need to do the job they do. So supposedly they can bump those things up to like super high voltages, or whatever the denomination of power is on electromagnetic frequency or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, it's all conspiracy theory stuff. And God only knows, maybe it's true. Who knows? I don't know. I tend to think that it's possible. That's my belief. I do believe that it's possible. Is it true? I don't know. I really don't know. But, I mean, so the dumbing down people, there's building up machines, and they want, to make them meet so that the machines and the people are indistinguishable from one another. This is the way that all people with resources, that's not the exact phrase that I made up, but people of means, that's it. It's the way all people of means are, in my experience. And by people of means, it's just kind of a offbeat, different kind of way to say wealthy people. But it's not really wealthy, because wealthy is so relative, I mean, like I said, if you have $10 million in the bank, you're a mite on the back of a flea, on the back of a rat, to somebody who's a billionaire, I mean, you're like a beggar, You're like a homeless person. You're like 2 steps away from being homeless. You're like a welfare recipient, in their mind, in billionaires' minds, because billionaires think they own everything, right? Or they think they should. They either do or they should. The bad ones. So, some of the bad ones. So, man, I'm losing my train of thought a lot tonight. I apologize. I was so excited about this too. So, if you, the nanotech, I was saying, activated by the cell phone signals. Oh, so what I was trying to say is that people of means, they try to predict the future while they are simultaneously taking steps to cause their prediction to come true. Right? That, in my experience. Well, this is going to happen. Well, yeah, that is going to happen because you're making it happen. I mean, of course it's going to happen. I see the future, and it's like, well, yeah, you are actively engaged in making things go the way you say that you see them going. I mean, it's like, so it's like people of means, sometimes they have more power and control that they want. I don't know how to explain it, but I've just seen it. I've seen it a few times, and it's very confusing. It's like they want to consider themselves to be prophets or something, and yet they're engaged in the things that are going on, and directing things in the way that they've prophesied that they will go. And it's just like, it's very confusing. It's like, can't you see what you're doing here? You're not a prophet. You're a manipulator. Right? You're not a prophet. You're a control freak, and you're controlling things to go the way. It's almost like they're control freaks and they're manipulators, but they deny to themselves that they are engaged in this behavior. And so it's like they want to become a prophet, because a prophet has a more noble standing than somebody who's a control freak and manipulator. It's almost like some kind of self-delusion, some internal mental game that they're playing with themselves, but maybe that's what it is. So that's what I mean by they're raising the machines and dumbing down the people, is they are actively trying. They keep the elite, the billionaires keep predicting that man and machine will be indistinguishable. As a matter of fact, they are predicting that the machines will surpass the man in ability, and there they are engaged in bringing up the capability of the machines, while they are simultaneously actively in a premeditated, intentional way bringing down the ability of mankind, as opposed to lifting up, escalating the abilities of mankind. So they're acting like prophets, and they're really just manipulating. I mean, they're just really just like crude, barbaric, evil, ugly manipulators and control freaks, So the challenge, I think, that I want to send out is to find your voice, affirm your existence. See, you have a creator. God made you to be something, but you cannot realize what that something is until you begin to affirm your existence. Okay? First, in the broadest sense, I exist. Okay? But second, in the more specific sense, that you exist as you are. You know? Like, I'm a talker, you might be a dancer, you might, whatever. I mean, whatever it is that you are, be that. Now, obviously, not obviously, scratch that. People, you might be inclined to say, well, what's the big deal with that? I mean, how is that noteworthy? It's noteworthy because of the number of people who are afraid to affirm their existence as they are. That's why it's noteworthy. It's noteworthy because people don't want to say what they think because they think they have to be an expert to say what they think. And it's like, I mean, the experts are not experts. Haven't you figured that out yet? The experts are idiots in so many cases. The experts are hand-picked stooges of the people in charge. That's what the experts are. I mean, ultimately, when you get down to brass tacks, if somebody gets the little label stuck on their head, expert, it's because somebody stuck that label there. Now, there are some people who are exceptionally good at what they do, but some of those people don't have the label expert written across their head. You can't go by labels. You can't go by labels no matter whether it's label for good or label for bad. You can't rely on the friggin' labels. I mean, look at the labels they put on our food. You can't rely on those labels. I mean, the labels are bad enough. I mean, in so many cases, but there's stuff in the food that isn't on the label. I mean, God only knows what they're doing with this GMO stuff. I mean, nobody knows, and everybody's freaking out, and that's why everybody's freaking out about it. Europe has, banned all GMO food. Russia banned all GMO food. Over America, we're like, oh, there's nothing wrong with these corn, just my kid would have had 3 ears whether we eat GMO corn or not, I just made that up. That's not a real story. But I'm just saying, I mean, America is like one of the most, in a certain sense, like one of the most conquered nations on the earth. We're also one of the freest, but there's a different sense of things. It's kind of ironic, how it all works. And in a sense, Europe is more conquered, but in another sense, Europe is also more free. So I'm digressing, and I don't want to do that because that's a really big subject right there. So affirm your existence. So basically, if you want to cut it down to the bottom line, it's live as if you have no fear. I mean, say what you think. That's it. That's how you find your voice. You're never going to know what your voice is until you start to exercise your voice. And you know what? You were given a voice. And if you don't even know what that voice is, because you haven't affirmed that you have a voice, then what is that? Isn't that a travesty? Isn't that a tragedy? Isn't that an epic tragedy? I think it is. I think it's epic. I think it's epic tragedy. There is nobody that has never looked like a fool. Another way to say that is everybody has looked like a fool. Don't think because somebody is sitting up in some ivory tower with perfect hair and perfect makeup that they've never looked like a fool. Of course they looked like a fool. They just cut that stuff out and throw it on the cutting room floor. Just because somebody has handlers, that doesn't mean they're better than you are. Just because people have people that make them look good, right? I mean, think about whoever you think is beautiful, whoever you think is smart, think about how they would be if they didn't have people running around, patting them down and fixing things and giving them scripts and tips and research results. No, they're just, no. I mean, there's some exceptions, I guess you could say Stephen Hawking and stuff, but you know what? I heard a guy talking today saying Stephen Hawking is not that smart, Now, could he do schoolwork better than 99% of other people? Sure he could. But that's not smart. And that's one kind of smart. He might have been really exceptional at academics, but that doesn't make you quote-unquote smart unless you have a very, very, very narrow definition of smart, And not only that, some of these quote-unquote intellectuals are only renowned because some powerful person handpicked them and said, you're going to be renowned. That's a true story. I mean, who do you think owns these? Who do you think runs these universities and colleges? The people that own the universities and colleges. Who do you think the people that own the universities and colleges are? I mean, some of them are owned by the CIA. Some of them are owned by billionaires. I mean, there's some small, I'm not talking about the small little local private play. I'm talking about the big ones. They're owned by billionaires. Billionaires have interests. Billionaires do not act in a way that is inconsistent with their own interest. See, they're not like us. Everything they do is premeditated and calculated to be profitable for them. That's why they're billionaires, right? Or maybe they inherited their money from daddy or granddaddy or great-granddaddy or whatever. Then that's probably an even worse scenario for the people that give them even more money to be brainwashed by them, by the books that they pick for you to read. Out of all the millions of books in the world, they're going to pick 50 or 60 or maybe 100. Let's just go crazy and say that they're going to pick 250 books for you to read over the course of your college education. Out of all the millions of books in the world, they pick 250 for you. You think they're going to pick books that are good for you, or they're going to pick books that are good for them? They're going to pick books that fulfill their interest, that keep their interest well-funded, solvent, healthy, robust, and you are a secondary, your own interests are a secondary concern. Maybe a third or fourth or fifth level concern. It's like you go to the doctor. Is your health the doctor's first concern?